Today, we discuss the downfall of two beloved former UFC champions and the rise of another, as mixed martial arts is proven that it's usually and always out with the old and in with the new. Today, we discuss the rise and fall of Alexander Volkanovski, Max Holloway, and Ilia Topuria on the next episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. What's up, guys? We right back at it. We right back with it. It's your boy Mac. Go Ravens all day. And we are here to talk about, as we finish up, I believe this is probably going to be the last episode, considering we're actually getting into the new year now, and at the end of this week, we finally have a UFC card in 2025. We are finally about to finish up the biggest fights of 2024 with the highest stakes, and we're going to give you a jumbo-packed, jumbo-stuffed, huge episode with 3 fights that we're going to cover. And it's going to all begin with Alexander Volkanovski at UFC 298 in February of 2024, stepping in the octagon to make the attempt at defending his featherweight championship against rising star Ilia Topuria. So to set the stage here, this fight takes place only a few months after Alexander Volkanovski, ill-advised by the entire MMA world, stepped in the octagon with Islam Makhachev on short notice and basically rematched him for another shot at the 155-pound title. And as you all know, if you know your history, Volkanovski did not fare well in that, as he was finished for the first time in the UFC by Islam Makhachev. Now, a few months later, Alexander Volkanovski goes out there again in another title fight, this time with his own belt on the line, and was making the attempt to defend against the up-and-coming rising star, the Bull, the El Matador, Ilia Topuria, the Spaniard. Here's the deal, man. A lot was at stake for this fight, because you had Alexander Volkanovski, who up until Islam Makhachev finished him, looked like he was unbeatable. Even though Islam had already defeated him once, and I felt like Islam got the nod in their first fight, and he should have. I felt like he did win that first fight, although I know there's a lot of fans that believe Volkanovski won. But this fight back, after such a devastating loss to Makhachev, for Alexander Volkanovski, this was to show and prove that he was still that dude. Only this time it's at featherweight. Because the question was, okay, is Volkanovski still that dude, but he's just not that dude at 155? Or is he just not that dude anymore? And Volkanovski had talked up a good game. He had talked like, it was just a misstep. He was fresh off the couch trying to fight Makhachev. He had not that he was making excuses, but he had a lot of excuses for why he took that L to Makhachev. So now he's going out there against the rising star in Ilia Topuria, which had really put the pace on a lot of other contenders. A lot of other fighters, Ilia had made them look like they were just not in the same league as him. Now, as we led up to this fight, Ilia Topuria did all of the Ilia tactics that we would now know are the Ilia tactics. On his social media, he had already changed his social media handles that he was the featherweight champion of the world, that he already had defeated Alexander Volkanovski. He had already added an extra win in the win column on all of his social media platforms. He was already, for all intents and purposes, saying, I've already beaten Alexander Volkanovski. As they began to build up to this fight, he continued to call Volkanovski old and say he wasn't ready for the young El Matador, which is Ilia Topuria. when they had the pre-fight press conference, Volkanovski went along with all the talk that he was Old Man Volk and debuted Old Man Volk, in which he came out in a little old man suit. He had a little old man hat, a little old man shirt, jacket. He pretended like he was falling asleep at the press conference. Great stuff. Great stuff. If you haven't seen it, Google that, YouTube that. You got to see it. Volk in rare form. Great comedic timing by Alexander Volkanovski. But Ilia Topuria was not fazed by, one might say, the backfiring tactics of Volkanovski, who embraced being Old Man Volk. Topuria just seemed like, okay, dude, if you really want to do that, then you can go ahead and do that. But whatever. At the end of the day, I'm still going to knock you out. He was calling that he was going to knock out, that he was going to finish Alexander Volkanovski, which was unheard of to a certain extent. I mean, we had just saw Volk finished by Makhachev, but never in his own weight class. Ladies and gentlemen, in February of 2024, UFC 298, Ilia Topuria took to the grand stage, the main stage, set foot in the octagon, poised, calm, collected, looked like he had already fought Volk and already beat him. You know what I'm saying? He was so calm and collected, he looked like he had already accomplished his task or accomplished his goal. He looked like this is nothing. This is simply a formality. Alexander Volkanovski came out to the octagon. He looked like Volk in rare form. He didn't seem nervous. He also seemed calm and collected. Not as confident, I would say, as Ilia, because I'm not sure if anyone, except for prime Conor McGregor, looks to be as confident as Ilia Topuria. But nevertheless, Volkanovski looked to be poised and ready to defend his championship. As I check my Nizotes, 3 minutes and 32 seconds into round 2, Ilia Topuria did the unthinkable. He did the impossible. Some might have believed at featherweight. He KO'd Alexander Volkanovski. He finished him. And it didn't even really look too difficult. It didn't even really look too hard. We're going to discuss another fight on the rise of Ilia Topuria in 2024 that, in my opinion, it looked to be a little bit more difficult against another opponent that we're about to discuss momentarily. But nevertheless, Ilia Topuria went out there and disposed of Volkanovski, and he made it look easy, thus claiming the featherweight championship of the world, thus beginning the new cycle of when is he going to fight in Spain, when is the UFC going to Spain, who's going to be his next opponent, who's going to step in the octagon with this man, and who could you even see contending against this dude, who's even going to come close to beating him. We would soon find out, but later in the year. First, we have to make a quick pit stop at a higher weight class of the future opponent of Ilia Topuria. And that is UFC 300, in which one Max Bless Holloway would challenge Justin Gaethje at 155 pounds for the BMF championship, which was held by Justin Gaethje. So there was a lot of stakes with this fight because Max had looked to be in rare form at featherweight. You know, after taking so many losses to Alexander Volkanovski, we had Max Holloway, who had lost 3 times. Now, in my opinion, Max won their second fight. Fight 1 goes to Volk. Fight 2, I scored that for Max Holloway. Fight 3 clearly went to Volkanovski, as he just did work to Max Holloway. And it was in question that, can Max Holloway win the big fight again? Can he win the big one? Because when the big one has come about being Alexander Volkanovski, he has just been a little bit shy. He's come up a little bit short each time, even though, in my opinion, he won the second fight. But I get it. Nevertheless, Max Holloway was going to go up to 155 pounds and face Justin Gaethje for the BMF championship. Now, this was rumored to be the main event of UFC 300 for the longest time because all the other fights fell through until, please check out my last episode as we covered the actual main event of UFC 300, which was Alex Poatan Pereira stepped in the octagon with Jamal Hill. But nevertheless, prior to that fight being signed, and that was signed at the last minute, this was the main event. And there was a lot of chitter chatter about, is Max Holloway, can he really stand up to Justin Gaethje? Justin Gaethje looks to be on a whole other level after he goes out there and made short, quick work of El Diamante, Dustin Poirier, you know what I'm saying? Which was the original fight for the BMF championship. Well, nevertheless, dude, going into this, I always felt like Max Holloway was going to win. Something just told me that this Max looked different. He looked poised to be able to show the world that he was not out of the fight, that he was not out of it in his career, that he could still go out there and win the big one. The stage was set. Both men entered the octagon at UFC 300. This was poised to be the actual people's main event. This was the fight that we were all talking about, that we all wanted to see. This was the one that gave everyone the jitters. This is the one that had your heart doing heart palpitations as they're walking out to the octagon. You're close to passing out. And you still got a couple of main event fights. You still got Jean Xiaonan challenging for the belt, everything else. Bro, you were on pins and needles trying to make it through this. Joe Rogan even spoke about Bruce Buffer almost passed out announcing both of these guys. You know what I'm saying? Everything was on the line in this. And this fight delivered. This fight delivered as we saw both men poised, go out there confident, ready. They were both ready to announce, I'm the current BMF. You know what I'm saying? I deserve the belt. Bro, as this fight began in round one, there was a lot of jockeying for position, if you will, between both men. A lot of jabs exchanged. Quite a few leg kicks by Justin Gaethje in round one. But the story of the fight would be the final strike at the end of round one, in which Max Holloway landed a spinning back kick. While it looked like, I'm not sure if he was actually shooting for a takedown, but it looked like Justin Gaethje changed levels. And as he was dropping down, simultaneously, Max Holloway hit him with a spinning leg kick right. The heel of his foot landed right on the nose, literally, of Justin Gaethje, and broke his nose at the end of round one. And that essentially would be the end of this fight, because Justin Gaethje never quite got back in the fight after this, never quite recovered, right? And as this fight went on, in my opinion, Max Holloway was just always at least one, at times it looked to be 2 steps ahead of Justin Gaethje. Round 2, Max Holloway put it on him. Round 3, Justin Gaethje had moments as him and Trevor tried to figure out, Trevor being his coach, as they tried to figure out ways to get the Hawaiian out of there, but it just wasn't quite working. Justin seemed to be missing that additional gear, that additional level that he normally takes it to, and I believe a lot of that could be attributed to that damaged nose that he sustained in the first round. And Max Holloway continued to pour on the pace. Justin had moments. Trevor made it clear to him going into the final round, you have got to stop this man or you're going to lose this fight. And Justin Gaethje made the attempt to oblige his coach as he went out there and tried to put the pace on to Max Holloway. And at the end of this fight, with everything on the line to show you the size of cojones that Max Holloway possessed, Max Holloway has gone on to clarify his moment. That if you've been watching my biggest fights of 2024 series, this is episode 4. If I haven't already said that, this would have went down in episode 2. So go back and check it out. We saw Israel Adesanya try to realize the point to the ground moment, and it did not fare well for him, and it did not work out. And let's just clarify what the point to the ground moment is, as it was clarified by Max Holloway. When you're fighting another man, or, I guess females could also do this when you're fighting another woman. At the end of the day, when you've dominated this person and they have no chance to win by the scorecards, the official definition of the point to the ground moment, as defined by Max Holloway himself, is you point to the ground and challenge them to let's throw hands. Why is this challenge being put out there? Because it's saying, hey, bro, I got you beat. There's nothing you're going to be able to do to stop me. So I'm going to point to the ground. I'm going to throw hands with you. And this is your chance. This is your chance to knock me out and to win this fight. You get this one chance. If you don't take this one chance, I'm going to win by the scorecards. Undoubtedly. If you take this chance and it doesn't go your way, as we're about to discuss, sorry for you. It didn't go your way. But I'm giving you this chance. I'm putting all the chips on the table in Vegas. And I'm saying, hey, this is your chance to beat me, get me out of here, and live in infamy. Bro, he gave that opportunity to Justin Gaethje. And what followed this was the greatest few second sequence in UFC history, and by far one of the most exciting, energetic, jump out of your seats, throw your popcorn, pour your beer over your head, and so just celebrate in general moment. The greatest moment of all time in mixed martial arts, especially UFC history. Max Holloway points to the ground, challenging Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje makes the attempt to oblige him. Both men begin to trade shots back and forth, back and forth. It's a slugfest, a true slugfest. And in the last, we're talking about, you have to understand, all the chips are on the line. All the chips and all the dips are on the line by Max Holloway. He's about to win this fight. He's about to be declared the new BMF champion, I should say. But he puts it all on the line when he points to the ground. He puts it all on the line when he didn't even have to, which is the true definition of a BMF. As both men are slugging it out, trading back and forth, Justin Gaethje swings hard. Max Holloway slips during one of the sequences and lays a devastating, I believe it was a right hand. And Justin Gaethje gets knocked out, falls face first to the ground like a slain dragon. And Max Holloway has finished Justin Gaethje with only seconds to spare and is now your new BMF champion of the world. I'm ready to light up a cigarette because it took a toll, bro. You know what I'm saying? Bro, this was one of the greatest moments you will ever see as a UFC fan. This gave you all the feels. This was everything you needed. And on that night, Max Holloway was victorious. They went to the audience. They showed Ilia Topuria, who looked like he had no idea what had just transpired. Eyes were big. He was flabbergasted. You know what I'm saying? He was flummoxed. You know what I'm saying? Tremendous word for a man from Louisville, Kentucky. It was truly amazing. One of the greatest moments you ever see. And I'm sorry, but it was the moment. Even though Alex Pereira had his let him cook moment in the main event, nothing will compare to this moment for Max Holloway. This won everybody's knockout of the year as they did their year-end reviews for 2024. This was truly amazing. So now the stage is set for the final fight that we will discuss on episode 4 of the biggest fights the biggest high stake fights of 2024. As Max Holloway would now, instead of challenging Islam Makhachev for the 155-pound strap, which was talked about, instead of going back out there and doing a rematch against El Diamante, Dustin Poirier, at 155 pounds, instead of a dream fight, which could still possibly happen in the future now, against my guy, Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway, now in the driver's seat and has, a few chips in his corner against the UFC to kind of call a shot. Max Holloway goes back down to featherweight to challenge the El Matador, Ilia Topuria, for the featherweight championship. And now even more stakes are on the line because Ilia Topuria went out there. He defeated Alexander Volkanovski. He defeated one featherweight GOAT. But can he go out there and defeat another featherweight GOAT? Because you have to look at this. You've got 3 GOATs at featherweight. In my opinion, the GOAT of all GOATs at featherweight, due to everything he did in the WEC, is Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo is a king. The true, not only the king of Rio, but the true king of the featherweights. To speak his name, you must speak it with reverence. You know what I'm talking about? Bro, you have Jose Aldo, Alexander Volkanovski, and Max Holloway. 3 GOATs at featherweight. Ilia's already taken out 1. Can he take out Max Holloway? Can Max Holloway go out there and look as good as he did at 155 pounds, back at 145? He's fresh off of a winning streak at 145. He retired the Korean Zombie, for God's sakes. Zombie. Like, bro, all the chips and all the dips were on the line. This fight would take place at UFC, I believe. Let me just make sure my memory stands. I believe this fight took place at UFC 308. Let's take a look. Yes, UFC 308 that went down in October of 2024. As Ilia Topuria would step out there and make the attempt to defend his featherweight championship. And Ilia Topuria, in true Ilia form, the entire lead up to this fight, says he wants the BMF championship to be on the line. He wants to challenge for the BMF championship. He didn't see any skill take place in the fight between Max and Justin Gaethje. He felt like it was just 2 bulls in a china shop slugging it out. And his skills were much better than both men. And he wouldn't go out there and engage in that type of war, and he would defeat Max Holloway. As we got closer and closer to this fight, Ilia Topuria then pivoted, purchased his own version of the BMF championship, had his own belt made, because Max Holloway said, this is not going to be for the BMF championship. I'm not doing that. You haven't proven yourself to be a BMF, so I'm not putting the belt on the line. Topuria went out and had his own BMF championship made. Sat there and began to do interviews with that championship in camera, showing you, hey, I'm the BMF champion. This seemed to rub Max Holloway the wrong way. And then Ilia Topuria, in true Topuria fashion, said, when the fight starts, I'm going to point to the ground and I'm going to give Max Holloway a chance to have a real slugfest. Only this is going to be technical, and I'm going to knock him out in the opening seconds of the fight. I'm not going to wait to the end. I'm going to point down to the ground in the beginning, and we're going to go ahead and get this underway. And if he's got the cojones to go in there with the El Matador and do the same thing that he tried with Justin Gaethje, then I'm going to oblige him. Max Holloway, then, that's when he truly defined what the point to the ground moment was and said, nah, that's not what it's about. It's about giving your opponent, once you've completely beaten him, the opportunity to take your crown. So we're not going to do that at the beginning. Ilia said, either way, I'm still going to point to the ground. If you're going to man up and do it, you'll do it. If you won't, you won't. The stage was set. The fight was marked. It was ready. And As both of these men entered the octagon, all the feels, all the jitters, all the chips were on the line. And as the fight began, true to form, backed up everything that he said, Ilia Topuria pointed at the ground, challenging Max Holloway, let's scrap right now. And Max Holloway did not oblige him. And Max Holloway said, nah, let's battle. You said you were technical. You said you were the technical fighter. Let's scrap then. And from a technical standpoint, let's fight. So Ilia said, okay. And Ilia Topuria went out there in round one. And in my opinion, I feel like Max Holloway, even though Ilia had moments in round one, I feel like Max Holloway was looking good. He was looking good until the end of round one. As early in round one, I was thinking, oh my God, because I had picked Max Holloway to win this fight. I'm ashamed to say. I'm not really ashamed because I'm a Max Holloway fan. But I like Ilia Topuria as well, but I thought Max was going to be able to put it together. And round one is going on. I'm thinking, oh my God, Max Holloway is doing it. Max Holloway is going to beat Ilia Topuria. And then at the end of the first round, we saw the beginning of the end. And you saw the true heart, the true spirit of Ilia Topuria as Ilia finishes that first round on top, of course, in my opinion. I'm not sure how the judges scored the first round, but by the end of the first round, I was like, okay, Ilia came to fight. He came to play. Second round, Ilia Topuria goes out there, and he begins, in my opinion, to somewhat figure out what's going on with the Max Holloway style. You know what I'm saying? He begins to figure out what's kind of going on with this dude. Max Holloway doesn't look beaten yet, doesn't look like he's defeated yet, but Ilia is slowly creeping up. He's slowly coming on, you know what I'm saying? And if you're going to come, you better come on. Pause, you know what I'm saying? Bro, third round, 1 minute and 34 seconds into the third round, Ilia Topuria did the impossible. With all the stakes, everything on the line, all the trash talk on the line, having to back up all the trash talk, Ilia Topuria knocked out Max Holloway in the third round to defend his featherweight championship of the world and emerge victorious, thus finishing one of the best years of any young fighter. You know, this rivals Conor McGregor. Because you have to understand, Conor beat Jose Aldo 13 seconds, right? But you have to understand, prior to that, he defeated Chad Mendes, which is like, okay, yeah, Chad Mendes is a good fighter. That's who he defeated to win the interim championship. But we're talking about Ilia Topuria went out there, not only beat, but finished two of the featherweight GOATs in the same year. And did it quite easily, I might add. And cemented himself as the guy at featherweight. The guy to watch. The guy to watch out of all the young and up-and-coming champions. You know, out of all of the guys, it's Ilia Topuria. And in my opinion, Ilia Topuria and Dricus Du Plessis still knocks. In my opinion, both men signed and sealed themselves. What they accomplished in 2024, both of them, you know, as well as Alex Pereira, all three of those men really secured themselves as future Hall of Famers in a way. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you have Dricus Du Plessis goes out there and takes out Sean Strickland, which, okay, but Sean Strickland beat Izzy. Then Dricus goes out there and he defeats Israel Adesanya, makes him tap. You have Alex Pereira goes out there, and not only does he defeat Jamal Hill, he defeats Yuri Prohashka, he defeats Khalil Roundtree. And don't sleep on Khalil Roundtree because he was coming on and he was coming on strong. And Pereira went out there and defeated him while sick, while having the flu, I believe, and still having a messed up toe, and defeated Khalil Roundtree. And then you have Ilia Topuria goes out there and defeats Alexander Volkanovski, and then turns right around and defeats Max Holloway. Sends Max Holloway packing. Max Holloway, shout out to him, still one of the true goats of the sport. He has decided he's done with featherweight. He's moving up to 155 pounds for good. Ilia Topuria not only finished Alex, he finished Max and sent Max packing up to 155 pounds. Truly outstanding year for up-and-coming champions. 2024 is an outstanding year for up-and-coming champions. Great things to see. These were some of the most high stakes, biggest fights of the year. There was a lot of other huge fights. There were a lot of other fights that had a lot of stakes, but this, to me, these fights that I've discussed in these 4 episodes were the biggest. So I truly hope that you all enjoyed it. You know, this is episode 4. Please check out episode 1. Please, that was Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland. Episode 2, Dricus du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya. Episode 3 was Alex Pereira stepping in the octagon with Jamal Hill, and also stepping in the octagon with Yuri Prohashka. And we finished it off with Ilia Topuria stepping in the octagon with Volkanovski, and Ilia Topuria stepping in the octagon with Max Holloway, as well as Max Holloway becoming the BMF champion against Justin Gaethje. So I appreciate you guys if you've been along for this whole ride. And I do once again want to thank you for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I'll check you next time. Peace.